So this story takes place in Mexico, Acapulco. I was about 14, 15 years old, and we were on vacation. The family had gotten back together again. My father and mother loved getting divorced. They divorced twice. They're still divorced to this day, so it worked. But, but in effect, this was their second time getting back together again, and my mom was living it up a little. She said, that she was going to stay with him this time and that things were going to work out. So she was going to have some pina coladas. And they would serve these inside of the coconut. They just shave off the top, and you'd get the alcohol inside, and you'd drink it straight out of the coconut. It was kind of amazing how elegant and delicious it looked. At the age of 14, I snuck a few drinks, but I was not intoxicated at all. I just tasted it. I was offered the opportunity to flavor it. But when you're in Acapulco, you don't really have to go anywhere to live it up. The vendors will come to you. You can get your hair braided. You can eat oysters, fresh shrimp from the sea. They might not be that fresh. You might get sick. But but all of these things are offered to you as you lay there right on the beach. And one of the things that was offered to us was to go parasailing. And one of these vendors came up, and he's showing us the boat and the parasailing and the view from up above. And my father was like, "Are you up for this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can do this." And my sister, she was all for it. She'd gone parasailing in the past. This would have been my first opportunity. Even though you have to be a certain age, you can just tell them that you're that age and it'll work. So though I was not of age to actually go up in the air, me and my younger brother were all admitted into this because he was going to do a 2-for-3 special. All of his children were going to be launched up into the air. And it was my first time. It was going to be my brother's first time. And I was excited about it. I watched my sister do it when I was younger. And they just give you little flags. Like raise a yellow flag, and they'll raise a red flag, and you have to pull on that string that you're holding on to for dear life. And that'll somehow bring you back to the ground. And so my sister went up. Everything seemed to go well. I'll give you the layout. This is Acapulco. It's near Bay Area, so there's a little kind of a dip. And it's near the beach called Papagayo, which means father rooster. And there's these jagged rocks that kind of lead out into the ocean. And these rocks separate the Papagayo from el revolcadero. Revolcadero means mashing, thrashing. And that side of the beach, there's some big waves because these rocks would stop the waves from going into the Papagayo, father rooster, but would not stop the waves because they were more direct from the ocean from coming into the revolcadero. And we'd always want to go over to the revolcadero. We were like, please, please. And my grandma would always tell us, no, this is my father's mother. It's like, that's not what I brought you here for, to watch you die. You will always be on this side of the beach. And we had to wear our T-shirts because if you didn't wear your T-shirts, you would have to wear sunblock, and we would never get that, no. You wore your T-shirt, and that blocked you from the sun, and that was our life. But my grandma was there, my mother, my father, my 3 siblings, and my youngest little brother, who was probably still 6, 7-ish at that time, wandering about without realizing really what his life was about. But we were ready to go into our parachutes. My sister went first. Everything was successful. And when it was my turn to go up, they told me all about the flags, and I'm holding on to the red rope and the yellow rope. And I'm like, okay, we'll just show you. You'll know exactly what to do. There's no problem. And they strapped on this parachute. I watched them buckle me in. It goes up and around the crotch region, and like buckles right there. You got another one that buckles around your chest region. Then you got like 2 little shoulder harnesses that come in and buckle in as well. And so I was ready. You know, they were like, start running, and it'll just take off naturally. So I started running down the beach, and pretty soon you're gonna just like, your feet aren't like really touching anymore. And I was like up in the air, and I'm like holding on for dear life, and I'm like, and I'm like excited. I'm excited about like looking at the surrounding areas of the entire layout of Acapulco. I'm like checking out the different locations where I've been to, like El Sisi, which is like a little water park, and I can see all of these places. I can see my hotel from up here. And pretty soon, I see the boat, you know, and it's making its rounds around El Papagayo in this bay area, and it starts circling back around. Well, when it's circling back around, the slack on the rope started to give. And I'm like, whatever. And they know what they're doing. They've done this before. I've seen plenty of people going up on these parachutes. I don't know what these guys were talking about. Last night's fishing. Maybe other people that they've taken up, what they were going to do that night. But they were not paying attention to me. And I was growing ever closer to these jagged rocks that separated the 2 beaches, the Papagayo and El Revolcadero. And I was going to smack dab fall on these things. And I was like looking at them. I'm like, when are these guys going to realize they need to like start moving like that way as opposed to this way? Get that slack out of the cord. Get it out. And they weren't. It didn't really matter how much I screamed up there. I was having a kick-ass time as far as they were concerned. I see these jagged rocks coming ever closer, and these guys are just like, the little boat didn't even seem to be fully revved, and that was pissing me off. So I see these jagged rocks coming closer. I'm still in my parachute, and I'm thinking, I'm gonna hit these goddamn things, because I'm probably like from here to the bar. And I'm like, this is not normal. These people are always way the fuck up in the air. Appropriate use of the word. I was not being an asshole about that. I was starting to freak out. I was starting to freak out pretty bad. And so I'm looking at these rocks. I'm looking at those guys, not even paying attention to me, sons of guns. And they were far away. The rope is pretty long. They want you to get way up there. And I miss these jagged rocks by like from here to that table. I could have hit a jagged rock. I went into the ocean. And I'm like, oh, God. Oh, I'm in the water. And then the slack gives out on the rope. And now I'm drowning because they're pulling me. They are pulling me now as I've landed into the water, and the waves are coming up over my face, and I'm... Fortunately, what I paid attention to, the one thing I paid attention to after the little drinks of pina colada that I'd had, was how they strapped me in. And so I was like, And I got out of that. I got out of that parachute, and now they're just like dragging their parachute. And I'm like, what a bunch of assholes. They don't even realize I'm not strapped in. And I'm like waiting in the water, trying to catch my breath. I'm coughing. I'm like, salt water. It was not that delicious, but it felt like I was still alive. And the adrenaline rush was so much that I was like waiting in the water. Anyways, eventually they realized I was no longer on the rope and that their parachute had like gone into the water and was soaked in stuff. Appropriate use of not emphasizing a word that I could have. All right. So they came back around and they were like, are you okay? Are you all right? I was just glad to have a boat to bring me back. And so I'm like, yeah, thumbs up. Get me into the boat. And they pulled me into the boat. And they were like, you didn't tell us how much you weighed appropriately. They were like trying to lay it on me. And I was like, well, I just know what I weigh in pounds. If you guys can't do the conversion into kilos, how the hell is this my fault? And they were like, anyways, we got back to the shore. And my mom, I could see her. I could see her when I was falling into the water. She was like, Junior, Junior. I could actually like read her lips from the shore because I couldn't hear what she was saying. But she was drunk. And she was kind of like stumbling around the shore, and she never drank. And she was telling me, it's like, I felt like it was punishment for drinking. And I was like, nah, Mom, I'm alive. It's okay. You can drink. So it's about drinking, and this whole story is like, it won't kill you if you do it in moderation. Thank you, guys.